So Dr. Naveen, Dr. Izra, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera and very good morning to all of you. My name is Wan Marzuki, Kate Deputy Director for Academic Staff Development, and I will be the moderator for our forum today entitled Ethics in Online Learning. So I would like to welcome everyone to Kate's online CPD training program. So today we will discuss with our panels is about the ethics in online learnings. So when we talk about e-learnings, the e-learning is learning is by the electronic technology, and it's aimed to increase the knowledge, skills and productivity and capability of the learner. Of course, now is the appropriate or the best times that everybody have to learn how to conduct the online teaching and so on during the pandemic, COVID-19. So of course, if we talk about e-learning, it serves as a substitute for the traditional classroom setting and offer education with fewer space or time limitations. So education in which maybe that we think there is a lot of, sometimes when we discuss about e-learning, there is a lot of limitation, and of course there is a lot of positive things, delimitation and so on. So a certain critics that if we read about the ethics in e-learning and so on, the critics often argue that the lack of personal contact values, okay, cause the low motivation of the students. So of course, it's related to the ethical behavior. It's related to the students' responsibility is related to the academicians or lecturers' responsibilities, and so on. So hopefully today we will discuss the importance of the online learning ethics to ensure that what we are doing for our students will give a lots of benefits to them. Okay, so we understand that today we also cannot rely on the facts of on the traditional learnings only. So the mixed methods and so on, and then especially during the pandemic's COVID-19. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our panels of experts today to discuss about the ethics in online learning. So our first panel is Associate Professor Dr. Nur Izura Uzair, Director for Co-Curriculum and Students Development Center, University Putra Malaysia, and also from the Faculty of Computer Science and Information Technology, UPM. Her expertise is more on the information security. And she also involved a lot in the task force for the innovative delivery for teaching and learning in the Center for Academic Developments in UPMs. Okay, so how are you, Dr. Nur Izura?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you, Dr.
So
Ruwan
thank you
Marzuki.
for your time, for being with us today. So our next panel of expert is Dr. Naveen Kumar Devaraj. He holds a Master's of Medicine in Family Medicine from the University of Malaya since 2016. He is a family medicine specialist and medical lecturer with the Faculty of Medicine and Health Science, University Putra Malaysia. And of course, he has been a physician for the more than 15 years. He published more than 40 papers in reputable journals worldwide and actively involved in both academic and community levels events, especially as advisor of ASEAN's Medical Student Association, UPM chapter, and committee member of Traditional and Complementary Medicine Committee of Malaysia Medical Association. His area of interest include hypertension, anti-smoking, hyperlipidemia, and men's health. He is a keen lecturers, teachers, and researchers, and a keen supporters for ethics in teaching and learning. Okay, so how are you, Dr. Naveen?
I'm good, very good.
Okay, so without further ado, we go for for our discussions today. Okay, so the first question, Dr. Naveen, I go for Dr. Naveen first. When we talk about the ethics in online learning, what we can understand, what is we can define what is the definition of ethics in online learning? So Dr. Naveen.
Thank you, Dr. Wan. Thank you, everyone, for having me here today. So I guess before we commence our discussion on this important topic, let's find out what is the definition of ethics. Ethics is defined as what people should do. As we all are aware, ethical questions arise when different interests of people conflict. And thus there is a need for a higher level of principle that is fair to all, that serve fair justice to all the rights of all those that are concerned. So the principles of ethics are shared by the community, even at the national level or even global level for everyone well-being. So ethics encompasses a whole spectrum of activity of human living, and a learning environment is no exception to this mentality. Yeah. Dr. Wan, can you on your mic?
So it's about the principles of justice. It's about the benefits, especially if we talks about the teaching, online teaching and so on. It's about the benefits to the students and so on. And of course, maybe it's also related to the responsibilities for the both lecturers and also the students. Okay, so Associate Professor Dr. Neizura, for your views, when we talk about ethics in online teaching, what are the main challenge for the ethics in online teachings?
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to all. Firstly, I would like to thank Kate for inviting me to share a little bit about ethics in online learning, online teaching and learning. As we know that this is now the new norm, the new norm with the COVID-19 pandemic. So we are now doing it online, the learning process, not only in universities but also at schools. So we know that there are many benefits of online teaching and learning with the digital technology. It can offer many benefits for learning to what do you call this, to improve, to enhance the learning experience. We have online classrooms with collaborative classrooms, discussions. And also with the digital technology, also it facilitates how students can acquire knowledge, acquire information. They can go globally to find this information. It's not limited to what, as what you call this, as compared to the traditional method, where it's limited to what we have in the textbooks, or what is being delivered by the teachers, for example. But nowadays, even before we have the COVID-19, before this also, there are many classes, many schools or educational institutions that have already what do you call this, use the online method for teaching and learning, overseas as well as in Malaysia. With the MOOC, we have a massive open online courses, for example. So we can see that there are many benefits for this. However, some might say that online teaching or the technology cannot substitute a teacher. We still need a teacher to teach the students. But then this is where we need to have a good blend between the technology, the digital technology, and the teachers. The expertise and the experience of the teachers are not to be put aside in this case. So ethics is vital in teaching and education in general. For example, either traditional or offline approach or online teaching. So we can see that ethics in teaching will instill the ethics in life and workforce. So that is why we feel that ethics is very important in the classroom, in the teaching and learning. You teach the students about ethics in the classroom, and this will be brought by them in their after school, in the workforce, in their life. So if we lack ethics in school or in universities, then that means you will lack ethics in the workforce. And this is we're not. If this is the case, then there is a question about the citizen, what is it to the country, the effect to the country, and so on. So students should learn fair and ethical behavior. So for online teaching, almost we can see that with the technology, it opened doors to many, as I said, access and opportunities also. And it also, with the online teaching, we can see that in some cases, although not all, we can see almost none in terms of close monitoring. We still have monitoring, but not as close as if we have in a physical classrooms. Yeah. So basically, the activities are done mainly by trust. Yeah, in this case, it makes it easy to cheat, for example, and also students may not take the lessons seriously, because the teacher is not there, the lecturer is not there to monitor them, and it can also lead to less focus in online classes, because there are many distractions. Yeah, because if you study online and you're studying from home, you're joining the class from home, there are many distractions. Yeah, the kitchen is close by, the TV is also close by, for example. Not to say that in physical classes there are no distractions. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, they're physically there, but they're mentally somewhere else, for example. But still, these are some of the challenges that we can see. And as I say, because it's mainly by trust, it makes it easy to cheat, and it can also be used in unethical ways to achieve the desired results. Because sometimes the end permits the means. Yeah, and this may lead to the general perception. Yeah, the online teaching and online learners are exposed to unethical practices. So in this case, many educators maybe are reluctant, yeah, to embrace the online teaching. Also, there are mainly the main challenges would be, I would say, skepticism. Yeah, some as Professor Hubert Dreyfus has said, yeah, anonymity versus, in his paper article, yeah, anonymity versus commitment, the dangers of education on the internet, which he has published in 1999, yeah, more 20 years ago. Yeah, we know that Professor Dreyfus is a professor of philosophy at the University of California, Berkeley. So he said that the internet, or learning through the internet, does not foster long-lasting commitment, which is necessary for achieving meaning in life. And the net makes people fleeting, shopping around, and therefore there is no commitment. This is what Professor Dreyfus said. So this is some of the skepticism that we could say, one of the challenges in online learning also. Because people feel that, of course there are views. As I say, everything has the benefits, and of course the benefits is huge, but there is also the what you call this, the other side of the coin. Yeah, there are also challenges that we need to control and monitor. So yeah, that's my
So I mean, that's when we using the online teaching and learning, of course, the negative side is about the what we call is easy. It's about the easy to cheat and so on. But in the positive way, it is about how we teach everybody to be more responsible, including we as academicians and also as students to participate in online learning. Okay, so all the attendees or our participants, so if you have any questions, you can paste your questions in the Q&A in the Q&A rooms, so the panels can answer maybe the questions. If you want to share something, you can use the Q&A buttons below of the Zooms. Okay, so maybe I go to the Dr. Izura have discussed about the experience teachers and so on. The what is the challenge that we face in online teaching. Of course, when we discuss about online teachings, online learnings, and so on, there is a do and don'ts for the lecturers, for the students that they have to comply. So maybe Dr. Naveen, you want to share what do and don'ts in online ethics for the lecturers, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Wan. There is a long list that we can do as lecturers in protecting the ethics in learning. The first thing is that anything we do, including for learning, should be contributing to the society and human well-being. Nothing should be done that that criticizes other people or other community or any harm. So whatever teaching that we do, learning that we do, should be for the benefit of mankind. Secondly, we should be actually honest and trustworthy. These include especially an important aspect of honoring the property rights, such as copyright, patents, and also intellectual property. As now internet, everybody has almost everybody has access to internet. So you got wide source of resources available over the net, but some of them are actually not available for use, especially without any permission. So when we actually put some materials in our teaching and all that, we have to make sure that we actually cite the references. And in some cases, we may even need to actually get permission. So I know a lot of lecturers like to use animation. A lot of lecturers like to use images and all that. So we just have to be a bit more careful to make sure that all we have cited and asked for permission. And it goes, I don't think so getting permission will be much of an issue, as long as we can get the contact of the person holding the copyright patent and email them. If we don't get it, we can actually go to another venue, choose another image or develop our own image. Okay. The second thing is when we when we do this teaching on ethics and all that, it's very important also, I guess, for lecturers to actually keep the track of attendance. We will see the students or the participants actually coming out, and it could be due to natural unavoidable causes like unstable internet and something like that. But lecturers need to, because to achieve the learning outcome and make sure the student are able to learn what they are supposed to, we have to keep a track of attendance. And keeping this attendance list is actually a very difficult thing. Whether you want to take the attendance at the start of the class or at the end of the class, or in the middle of the class. This is one of the questions about online learning. Okay, these guidelines there is a guideline for ethics in online learning that was developed by the Academy of Computer Missionary. That is a worldwide global community of computer makers that is available online. For more information, you can visit the website www.acm.org or organization. Okay. Yeah.
So that there is a lot of things that we have to follow. For example, there is some ethical things that we have to follow. For example, it's about the copyright things, and also the issues of attendance that Dr. Naveen shared with us. Is it we want to take the attendance maybe at the early stage of our online class, middles, and at the end of the class? So there is a certain issues that is normally have been discussed, have been questioned by some of our academicians before. Okay, beside that, maybe Dr. Izra want to add, beside that, what is other ethical issues is normally faces by the lecturers in online teaching?
Okay, thank you. Yes, what Dr. Naveen has mentioned about, for example, if I may add on the taking attendance, we know that with the unstable internet connection, for example, some students may not be able to follow the video conferencing class, for example, because it requires high bandwidth. And I believe Kate has also what do you call this, produced guidelines for this, for the classrooms or assessments, and we are advised to do some short survey, for example, to know the internet connectivity of our students, and therefore in some cases, if the students are not able to join the video conferencing class, then we may have to opt for asynchronous classrooms, or asynchronous delivery method, where the students are not required to attend at the same time, at the time of the class, but they can join, or they can follow the class later based on the recordings or assignments, for example, and maybe their attendance can be accounted based on that. So this depends on the situation. However, back to the ethical issues, it is rather worrying when cheating and plagiarism, for example, becomes the norm among the students. For example, they don't feel guilty doing it because, well, everybody's doing it. They would feel like that, and even some students don't even know what they are doing. That they are copy and paste, for example, is unethical. They don't even aware that this is something that is considered as unethical behavior. So this is why we need to teach the students about all these ethics. Sometimes for us, it's like we take it for granted. We know that this is wrong, and we know it, and sometimes we assume that people also know about this, but not. We have to remember that not everybody is aware of the ethical issues, especially those who are very what do you call this, living in the internet, with the internet, on social media is kind of a part of their life, for example. So some of the issues is, as we say, cheating. They can, for example, if we have e-assessment or assignments or something, they can ask or communicate with another person about the task, about the assignment, about the exam questions that they're doing, without the teachers knowing it. And plagiarism is also another issue. As I said, copy and paste is rampant. Everybody
Dr.
like
Dr. Izura, maybe some students they don't know that what they are doing is wrong, or we should have maybe to share with the students maybe a simple guideline, what do and don'ts.
Yes. That was what I'm going to suggest. Maybe at the end of the forum, we have a standard policy or guidelines for the students. The netiquettes, for example. I know that we have classes on ethics and so on. But sometimes these things need to be repeated over and over and over, because things are being done for them. This is normal, for example. So copy and paste is also another issue. And what I would suggest as a solution for this, for example, we could use in UPM also we use plagiarism or similarity checking software. And the main aim, what we need to do as teachers, it's not merely to catch the culprit, after the crime has been done, or then you catch them, but we should use it as a deterrent. That means we warn the students beforehand. We will your assignments will be checked with this software and so on, so that they will not copy and paste, and then they will not they will not be penalized. So we use it as a deterrent, not to just catch the culprit. And we also need to teach the student to use a proper referencing, citing others' work. This is not very for the students, they're not very familiar with this. And students also need to understand that citing others' work does not decrease the value of their work. Rather, it will enhance it, because some students, they don't want to cite other people's work because they feel that the lecturer would know that they're taking it from somebody else. Yeah, but they should understand that this is how it's done. You know, it shows that you as a student, you have done the homework, you have done the background study, you have done the literature review, which would give more weight to your work. So this is what we need to instill in the students. And there's also the issue of, let's say, submission of assessments, exams. How do we know that the student is not using a proxy or somebody that they pay to sit for the exam, to do the exam for them, to do the assessment for them, because the teachers cannot physically be present to monitor the student, right? So what we can do, for example, if I may suggest, they maybe we can monitor them real time. For example, we use video conferencing tools or software. Okay, or during the exam, for example, everybody switch on your camera, not your profile camera. I want to see your real time picture so that I know that you are the one who is doing the exam. For that can be also another way. And we can also have a oral test, for example, projects that have been submitted or assignments that have been submitted, to know that whether the students really, it's the student who really did the work. We can also have some oral test, or we can ask questions about the assignment that they submitted, so that if they really do it, then they would know what they have submitted, right? So these are some of the issues. There are many issues also that we can see, disrespecting others and so on, self-discipline, privacy. Then there's also network security and also netiquettes also, which I believe we could discuss further later.
Okay, so you mean that one way is to educate the students about the ethics, about the procedures, what do and don'ts, because we believe it is like the crimes and so on. We believe prevention is better than cure, right? So that's why we are in the academic lines. Of course, we always believe education. We educates people to behave or to do things or follow the certain ethical behavior and so on. Okay, maybe Dr. Naveen, you can add some more. It's about of course it's for the students. What is the ethical behavior? What do and don'ts for the students to do when they join the online learnings? This is about the online learning ethics for the students.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Wan. I think the most important thing for the students is actually attending your classes, because online attendance is equivalent to the face-to-face attendance. And now UPM is implementing the rule that you need to attend 100% of your lectures, because all lectures actually aim to actually meeting the learning outcomes, to increase your knowledge, skills and expertise in that area, so that when you graduate, you're able to deal with a whole range of problems, or solution. You can provide solution for the benefit of mankind. Going back to what Dr. Noizura mentioned about plagiarism. So plagiarism, in my time, I think when I was a student, is more of a photostat and binding. There is no software to actually detect plagiarism and so on. But then later, when internet came prominent, then came the term of copy and paste. So to me, is citing other people's work is fine, as long as we put that referencing. And remember, we can't copy word to word. We have to change it, because the software will actually pick up the words and instead consider plagiarism. I think to talk about the subject of plagiarism will be one whole forum or itself. But just be careful to actually try to use your own words. It shows your own maturity and capability. And usually that actually will give you higher marks when you submit your assignment, because lecturers, remember, are very experienced. They've read, sometimes we do provide the same assignment year after year. So we have read all kind of answers, and and we do recognize similarity and also just chincai. So we want something that is more mature, out of the box kind of thinking. So student, beside attending the thing, and also what they call not plagiarizing, it's also important, besides the lecturer, for the student to actually recognize the copyrights, the intellectual property of whatever article they take over the internet. Some articles are not available for you to actually use. So if you want to use it, you have to ask permission, and if permission is not granted, so you can't use it, find for alternative source. I think for us lecturers, we are not so particular that use a fancy kind of software or animation and all that. As long as you provide some some good writing on that subject matter, actually you will get some good marks and all that. Okay. So it's very important. We will go a bit, I will talk a bit later in the forum about what you should do, in how the lecturer should deal with cheating during the exams and all that. But do respect as a future, a future graduate, and you may also be involved in the academic, because all of us will retire, pension, get very, very old. So students will actually take over our jobs and all that. So remember what you do today, will be very important, because then, if you don't practice correct ethics, then others may actually come, and do the same thing towards you. So it's important to start right. Okay, to start right. It's not wrong to actually help your colleagues and all that. Okay, but especially when during exams or assignments and all that, it's actually for their own learning and own benefit to actually source their own information and come up with the answer. Because first of all, your answer may not be right also. Because some assignments are so challenging that nobody knows the correct answer until they get the marks. But of course, resources are available for you to discuss. The lecturer is always there for you to actually go back and so on. So don't worry so much. At the end of it, if you do submit it, it makes sense. You always will pass. It's just getting the higher marks, or achieving your CGPA 4 may not be so good lah if you don't do a proper research and the answer is not the correct one. Yeah.
So Dr. Naveen, do you have any tips to share with our participants here? Is almost all of us is academicians here.
Yes.
How we can motivate the students of especially to seriously involve in online learning, and also to follow all the ethical behaviors that they have to abide.
Yeah, I think most important is actually, first of all, we must install a sense of, people should be actually proud what they are. They should be proud of producing their own work that others may actually have a look and actually be able to appreciate and also criticize. I think we need to install that kind of behavior in our students. It's not when we give the assignment or projects or anything. It's just to finish the projects on time and submit on time. Of course, you need to submit on time or you lose marks. But then it's also like you are actually showing what you are about. When you submit the projects and all that. And if you actually are very disciplined person, it's not difficult to actually finish all the assignments and projects on time. And students also need to remember, because I'm the advisor for the Asian Medical Student UPM, I always remind them, don't get too much distracted with the co-curriculum activity. Curriculum activity is the more important part. Of course, to develop as holistic, as an individual, you need to do co-curriculum as well. So, but that curriculum, you need to pay attention. After achieving your after finish assignment, then you can do your co-curriculum activity, which is actually more also important in your future, when you want to start working at that. So I guess whenever we give assignment and so on, we should actually, tell the students, what this assignment is about, how you will help you, and ask them to, just put in their own words, cite some references, and as long as they write something that makes sense and achieving the learning objective and not totally out of the context, I think we should pass them. But getting higher marks is a different thing altogether. It should be the correct answer so that we can actually see the quality of the graduate, those that actually, that actually understand, what's happening, compared to those that, just following the flow and, copy paste and, that kind.
Dr. Naveen, Dr. Izura, maybe it's about the Dr. Naveen's comments is about the curriculums and co-curriculums activities. So as a director of the co-curriculum and students development, what is your comments about the ideas before?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Wan and also Dr. Naveen. Yes, what we believe is co-curriculum and curriculum, the academic part of it should go hand in hand. Yes, I understand, I appreciate Dr. Naveen's comment about, do not get distracted with the co-curriculum activities. I agree with him. It should be balanced. Both of them should be balanced. Yeah, I understand what Dr. Naveen is saying. Yeah, it should be balanced, and not only that you're only focusing on the co-curriculum, but you neglect your curriculum or academic part. They should be hand in hand. So because we're going towards developing a holistic human being, holistic and balanced human being. So this is very important. Yeah.
Okay, so our attendees, our participants today, if you have any idea, any suggestion to share, or any questions, you can put your question in Q&A buttons or in the chat rooms. Okay, so our panels, we share, we discuss, and also we give the feedback. Or if you want to give the ideas, also you can raise up your hands, and then we will allow you to give the idea or suggestions or your opinions about our topics of discussion today. Okay, so of course, when we discuss, Dr. Nur Izura, of course, when we discuss about the ethics in online learnings, the concepts of benefits, the concept of beneficence or benefits in ethical principles, is one of the the most important principles that normally we hold as an academician and so on. Okay, so what is the main responsibilities of the lecturers in online teaching to ensure the student success, to ensure that our students understands, our students can follow all the contents of our topics of discussion and so on, so they are not maybe left out of our classes. And we also want to make sure that all the learning outcomes that we supposed to deliver to our students, they can understand all of that. They can acquire all the knowledge and skills. Okay, maybe you have certain ideas and comments about that.
Okay. Yes, when we talk about beneficence, which is a moral obligation to act for the benefit of others, yeah. So it's like a moral rules or obligations which is derived from the application of the principle of respect, for example. So with respect, this is where I always believe that, ethics, ethics, the root of ethics is respect. You respect other people. And with respect, then you behave ethically, you behave in a morally, what you call it, good manners, for example. Yeah. So for this, for example, you act with honesty. You respect the privacy of others. You protect their confidential information, for example. And the main thing for us as teachers, we lecturers, we are teachers, we should lead by example. If you talk about students should be honest, students should not cheat, then we as teachers also we should lead by example. We should have honesty and integrity, and it's also the end does not permit the means. This is what we always need to instill in our student. And as Dr. Naveen mentioned about, for students, not only you don't only focus on your CGPA, but how you get it in a right way, in the correct way. So I always advise my students to learn with sincerity. You learn with sincerity. Not only you don't aim for good grades, you don't aim for high CGPA, but you learn because you want to learn, and you learn because you want to respect the knowledge. You want the knowledge. And if you learn with sincerity and really because you want to get the knowledge, then the CGPA will come easily. Yeah, you don't go for CGPA, but you go for knowledge. You want to get, the main objective is to get the knowledge. Then the CGPA will come as I would say like a by product, for example. Yeah. So for us teachers also, in terms of like Dr. Naveen has also mentioned about taking sources for our course materials, for example. Another way, the correct way for us is also to regularly revise and update our course materials. Yeah, try not to keep recycling every semester, but I understand, well, sometimes you're too busy with other tasks also, with the KPIs to achieve, but we try not to recycle every time. We should put an effort, for example, to update regularly if possible. And discipline also is very important for us as teachers. As I said, yeah, we are role model. We should lead by example. We should be punctual, on time, even for online classes. Yeah, we should be on time. We should also be professional as teachers. Even though it's an online class, you can do it from home. The way you dress, yeah, it should the way you communicate, the way you give instructions for your students should still be in a professional way. And another ethics for students, when for teachers, for example, we should master our course content. We should be knowledgeable. And of course, we understand that it's impossible to know everything, but at least we know the main things, and those that we don't know. And if the student asks, then we can answer them properly and say, okay, let's find out together, or something like, okay, I will find out and we'll let you know later. It will be a good way, being honest to the student. But the way you communicate it also is important. You cannot say, oh, I don't know. I don't know. You find out yourself. That's why. But I'm sure our lecturers are not, are not like that. It's just an example. And we can also be flexible, as I said now, with online learning, online teaching. The issue of internet connection, the issue of maybe accessibility in some rural areas for some students. Then we can be a bit flexible. Yeah, mentioning about the asynchronous learning. We can also be empathic. And some students, for example, we do online quiz or online exam, for example. They have done it, but they couldn't submit it. By the time they want to submit, something wrong with their internet connection and they couldn't submit it. So are we going to be very strict? No, you have to submit at this time, otherwise it will not be accepted. We should be a little bit flexible, empathic, but also fair to others as well. So this require wisdom and balance among in the teachers. And another part, this is also ethics and good moral, when we should be open to different perspectives and different opinions, and we should encourage our students to offer this, even though your opinion is different from others. This, and we encourage the discussion in a good way, in a very nice and conducive manner, to discuss all this. And I always tell the students that sometimes there is no right or wrong answers, especially in terms of opinion or perspectives. Yeah, everybody is welcome to give their opinion, and we can discuss about that. And another thing that I would like to say also is that as teachers, we should be careful. We should take the necessary precautions to not to expose our students to online risk or cyber threats.
Okay.
It's also, so we need to protect their privacy. We need to protect their the confidential information of the students, especially when you post something on the board, for example, bulletin board or a discussion board. Yeah, maybe there are things that need to be, you should take consent from the students also. And you should also be honest about yourself, your background, your qualifications. Who are you? As I said, yeah, be a role model. Communicate your expectations. What is your expectations? At the beginning of the semester, normally we will tell the students, yeah, how we will do the assignments, the assessments, for example, the percentages, the expectations. If you expect the students to participate in class, and you will give marks for that, you should make it clearly and consistently, and you facilitate the activities, yeah, with the students. And um, always encourage collaboration and communication between the students, because all this would also what you call this, integrate the soft skills, with the students, yeah, the teamwork skills, the social responsibility, communication skills, and as well as leadership skills. These are all could be blend together within the collaboration activities, communication between the students. And what more importantly, we need to respect the students. Yeah? We treat the students with courtesy and respect. So before you communicate, before we give instructions, anything, yeah, we need to communicate in a good manner. Yeah, do not give derogatory remarks, or overly critical on the comments, or put students down when they give opinions or anything. So we have to be careful on that. So these are part of the ethics for students. Yeah. And the implementation of the assessment system also, you don't move your goalposts regularly. At the beginning of the semester, we have already, as I said, yeah, we have already laid out the course assessments. For example, what are your expectations? So I mean, in the middle of the semester, you can't simply change it without the students' consent. If you feel that you want to change it, discuss with the students. This is what I always do. We discuss with the students, and they agree. Okay, can we change this and here and there? And this should be established. Yeah, with the students for their to get the better achievements for their class, and also in terms of the delivery, how they can understand the course content that we deliver. And we as teachers, yeah, again, back to the honesty, we also, not only the students should learn with sincerity, but we as teachers also should teach with sincerity.
With sincerity also, right?
Yes.
So, Dr. Izura, so our main task is also the most important thing is to facilitate the students' learning, to support the students, and then the things that the criteria that we also should have is about the flexibility. Yeah, this is right. So okay, we also have the suggestion or the idea from Dr. Chong. Dr. Chong also said to ensure there is about in terms of plagiarisms and so on, we need to familiar ourselves to use the materials that is Creative Commons, and of course Dr. Hannah Khan also said they agree that we have to educate our students that they should learn for the knowledge. We have to remind our students so to make sure they are happy to learn. Of course, there is reduce their stress, the stressful and so on. And we also have the opinions from Dr. CSC here. what's the he said is what Dr. Noor said is very true. It's about the healthy minds come from healthy body, sound minds, sound body. Maybe Dr. Naveen, you want to add some more? It's about the suggestion and so on from our attendees. You want to give some comments?
Yeah, I guess curriculum, going back to the curriculum activity, is actually very important because to build your personality, characteristic. What is more important in the context, because I'm from the medical faculty, and the curriculum is quite heavy because so many subjects, and sometimes some students in the clinical years have to go to the clinics and hospital, and it really makes you very tired, and they need to find cases, present, examine in front of the lecturers. What is important is actually balancing, actually having a good timetable, but never forget the real reason why you are here, to actually to actually get the education, especially in the field that you are involved. Regular exercises, doing the thing that you like, actually keeps you moving. It's I always remind I see a lot of now a lot of students are stressed, for no apparent reason, because if you pursue something, there definitely will be some some way of assessment. If there was just a course without any assessment, then it's not useful, but then nobody will be stressed. But now, if you do have something to teach, or something to you want to brief a degree, you need to have some assessment tool and methods and all that. And so there's no reason for students to actually feel stressed. It's just part of the learning process. And when after you get through, you pass, especially you do very well, you'll be very proud. Then you are expert in the area. But there's many things to learn over that period. So I don't really understand why nowadays students are so stressed. They have to go and sit in Starbucks for a few hours. Go.
So we as an academician, or we as a lecturers, also have to give the psychological support for the students, enable for them to manage their emotion, to manage their time, and so on, right? Okay, Dr. Naveen, Dr. Izra, we have suggestions from Dr. Koh Wei Leong here. Suggestions would be to provide standard issues or modules in PowerPoint slides or digital PDF handbooks for lecturers to serve as a guideline to ethics in online learning. So what we have discussed before, what is your comments about the Dr. Koh suggestions?
Yes, I agree. I agree with Dr. Koh. In fact, that's what one of my suggestion would be like, we need to have a policy for this a guideline or standards. Perhaps it will be good, because as I mentioned earlier, students may not be aware that what they're doing is unethical. So this is also what policy for students as well as for lecturers also, and maybe some of the things, small things, the netiquettes, for example, the internet etiquettes need also some lecturers also, or some teachers also are not aware of the small things, trivial things, but they may make a big impact, for example. I agree.
Okay, so Dr. Naveen, any comments about that? Your mic.
So I think writing a book, having a module will be a way forward, because online learning now, as I see it in the future, online learning may actually take up more of the teaching time, to allow even for academics to actually do other tasks, but not sacrificing the face-to-face learning, or for us the clinical teaching as well. So there need to be, just like I think face-to-face, we got all these ethics, the books, the module, and all that. I think it's time to actually draw up
So
policies.
it's a good maybe from our forum, our discussion.
Yes.
So it's a good suggestion. I think from Dr. Ko that we can take it as a main point for our discussion, that we are maybe we have to provide the standards issues maybe in the PowerPoint slides or digital, where that we can work together, that we can provide give the guidelines. It's not only I think it's not only for not for students only, but maybe it's both for the academicians and students. Is right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can I add a little bit?
Yes,
It's
right.
just
Okay.
I'm looking at it for a more maybe a more serious consequence if we don't have this. You know, with the netiquettes, for example. Yeah, I give an example with the netiquettes. Some of the things that might be overlooked because we're not familiar with this, or we're not aware of the netiquettes, for example. And the dangerous with the digital technology nowadays, people can easily record or screenshot a thing, and we don't want the teachers to be liable to legal actions or something because of this ignorance. I'm sorry to use that words, but because we don't know about these things. So this is very important also. I agree, to have this so that we can avoid all this what do you call this, undesirable actions.
So there is the right times that we have to maybe to discuss how to produce one's standards module or guidelines for the ethics in online. It is not online learning only, it's online teaching and learning, both for the lecturers, academicians, and also for the students, to make sure to protect both parties, right? Right. Okay. So we go for the our next questions, Dr. Naveen. Of course, when we discuss about the online learning, also is involved about the online assessment, right? So when we conduct or when conducting online assessment, what is the ethical issues should be considered? Okay, Dr. Naveen, please.
It's very important. I guess whenever we conduct a course, there should be an assessment, and then to see whether we have achieved the learning outcome. Also to empower the students so that they'll be useful graduates for the nation and the community later. So the most important is making sure that the candidate that is sitting for the exam or assessment is the candidate that actually registered for the course. So having a laptop with a camera is definitely very important. So the student actually should be facing the computer at all times while doing the assessment. And sometimes lecturers have so many students. So the initial thing can be done is actually showing the metric card or even the IC to make sure that it's the correct person sitting for the exam. And before the assessment is start, a few minutes should be given to explain to the student that the student should be honest in sitting for the exam, for the assessment, and should not cheat. Another important thing, maybe we need to modify our approach in assessing online is objective answers, the A, B, C, D, or E, can lead to cheating because people know the answer. Sometimes the answer is wrong, but they may pass to others, laptop is not the only smart gadget that we have. There's so many other smart gadgets. I remember some movies in the past, where even the spectacle is actually a camera. So student, what will be better in terms of online assessment, in my opinion, is actually providing short answer questions or essay. Because then when they submit, you actually can see what is written. So there's less chance for cheating. And a student that submit, unless it's really something like you ask a definition or some components of some theoretical that has to be same, but like you ask opinion and all that, it's unlikely that it will be the same. So doing an online assessment, there's some of the tips that I think that will be helpful for lecturers that are doing. Of course, you have more work in terms of marking the thing, but I think if you seriously want to actually assess your student knowledge and whether they have met learning outcome, that should be the way that I think lecturers should be encouraged to write short answer questions and also essays instead of just multiple choice or objective questions that may lead to either knowingly or unknowingly cheating. Yeah.
Okay. So we have opinions from the chat rooms. So Dr. Sihesh said that as an ethical educator, we should measure the student with the appropriate assessments and activities according to the assigned POs, right? For example, some lecturers give oral presentation assignment and use the rubrics that measuring oral presentation and communication skills, even though their courses are not assigned which PO4. Another example is measuring PO2, which lab reports. Lab reports should be PO1. Okay. So what is your comment, Dr. Izura or Dr. Naveen? Any feedbacks about this sharing?
I think in times of this kind of times that online learning is the main tool of teaching. Sometimes you may need to actually do some changes to your PO or LO, but these changes can be done just overnight, and it must be planned. Need to discuss with your deputy dean of academic, so that the changes are done for certain. Even the method assessment, like for our family medicine year 4 students, we actually got end of 4 weeks posting. They sit for multiple choice question. So now we are thinking how to change the assessment, because multiple choice 40 question over 1 hour, then it may lead to a lot of unethical activity. So we are thinking. So we are actively engaging some discussion to how to change the thing. Maybe doing some role play or doing or changing to essays and short answer. That may be the way do, but of course this can't be changed overnight, and you need to actually need to discuss with the relevant authorities.
Yeah, it's right. So that we have to follow all the procedures needed, right? Okay, and also from the what we discussed about the online.
Can I
yeah,
add
it's
on
right,
that?
Dr. Izura. Right.
Yes, about the question about the PO, assessing the student with the correct PO. Yes, I agree with Dr. Cheng. I couldn't see your full name. I'm sorry, but yes, you're right. Yeah, we should measure the students. I mean, the course assessment should be measured based on the PO that has already been assigned and has already been approved by the Senate. And we cannot, as ethical educator, as you say, we cannot simply change it or measure based on suka hati. Yeah. So it should be based on this, and it should be brought to their process for that. And you can do oral presentations in your class, for example, just as knowledge sharing session. It's good to have presentations so groups can share what they have found, when you give assignments. But this should not be, for example, in my opinion, it should not be measured because there's no PO2 in your course, for example. These are the things that we need to really check and need to be it's part of the ethical way of being an ethical teacher. You could say that.
Yeah, it's right. So it's according. I mean that's what we promise to the students. From the POs we have to deliver, right? That is what we discuss is about that. This is the ethics and rules that we as academician we need to comply, right? So that's why Dr. Hannah Khan also is right. The ignorant, she said that it's true. The ignorant of the law is not an excuse. So she's teaching law, so we need to ensure the lecturers and students are aware of it. So it's good that we have also the guidelines that we can give to our academicians and to our students, so they at least they have a proper or formal guideline from us. Okay, so there is some suggestions that we can discuss, we can consider later. So I think that's good from our discussion from this forum. At least we can have certain ideas that our academicians needs and our students needs, right? Okay, so Dr. Izura, so one more thing is that we are going to discuss also. Do you think when discuss about ethics, moral and professionalism, is of course you are in the director of co-curriculum and students development. I think maybe this is one of the most important soft skills that should be taught in schools and universities. So do you think it can be taught formally, informally, or cut across the curriculum and so on? What do you think?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Wan. Yes, I agree with your last sentence. It should be taught across the curriculum. Yeah, it should not. Of course, we can have a course specifically on ethics, for example, ethics and professionalism, but in the end, to when you want to internalize these values, it should be practiced throughout the curriculum in schools as well as in universities. So from what ministry, based on the Ministry of Health document, the ethics, moral and professionalism is where the student can demonstrate ethics and professionalism in practice that requires compliance to ethics principle and legal aspects. So this is very important. I always believe that in curriculum or academic classes, as well as co-curriculum classes, ethics should be taught, ethics should be instilled every time. Yeah, even though the course does not have PO6. EM is PO6, right? Even though it does not have PO6, but PO6 is just, if it has PO6, that means you have to measure it. But if it doesn't have PO6 in your, course outline, course outcome, then it doesn't mean that you don't have to teach it. Yeah, you still have to teach ethics. And for example, in PO4, in communication skill, communication skill also we have an elements of ethics, moral and professionalism, how to communicate professionally, right? How to to respect others when you communicate, when you post comments, especially nowadays that we're talking about online teaching, online learning. Everything is people can post comments and so on. When you do teamwork, when you do leadership and so on, even in entrepreneurship, everything has to have ethics and moral in it. So this is very important, I believe.
Okay. So Dr. Naveen, do you want to add? Your mic is not on. That's right.
Yes. Of course, ethics is very important component of our daily life. If we look back at our primary school and secondary school, there is always element of ethics. I remember the primary school, towards the end, there is some ethics, something they put a moral or something, the pengajaran or something, in most of the subject that we should do. So ethics encompasses all aspects of human life. So if we really want to install ethics in someone, having a course will be a helpful start, but there should be some role play or some practical real situations, like making the the students appreciate that Malaysia is developing country, and how other people in other countries with less access to internet, how they are still able to cope. We are wondering, like certain countries, they are less developed than Malaysia, how they are, how the students are actually, because they are so barred from universities and schools and all that, how they are carrying their teaching. It may be just a hard copy, sending the hard copy through the postman, or sending at the door of the school or something. So I guess there should be some practical aspect to it if you do want to teach ethics. But a lot of it actually need to come from the individual itself, the realization what is their duty towards themselves, and also to the community and to the nation. So if a person actually knows that principle, I think they will be able to uphold the principle of ethics across all domains of their life.
Okay. So our responsibles as an academicians, our duties is also have to ensure that we have to educate, to teach, to support our students to follow the ethicals, to behave it's not in online learnings only, but all the way their life and so on. So there is our duties, our obligation as an academicians, right? Okay. Dr. Naveen, do you have any tips that we can share here with our academicians here when we deal with the ethicals and behavior misconducts in online teaching and learning?
So it's sometimes unfortunate that we have some individuals that try to disrupt online classes, and just as in the class, sometimes we do face this kind of behavior, like students coming late, or lecturers coming late, or even invited lecturers coming late and all that. So there need to be some ground rules and some ways that actually we can put a stop to this disruptive behavior. One thing we notice is more software like Zoom or Google Meet. The administrator or the host for the meeting has a right to actually mute all the participants. So, and also like certain software, also you can actually just limit the participant to sending comments, and without without able to give some oral feedback, more of a message and all that. The second thing is if the behavior become too disruptive and disturbs teaching process, you may actually decide to remove the student from that class itself. It's your right as a teacher to actually make sure that the right of the others are protected. But in that way, we don't know what is the reason that student is behaving such a way. Maybe extreme stress or something bad happen or anything. But it shouldn't be a reason for them to misbehave. But we do that, we can remove them from the class, but we shouldn't punish them in terms of grades and all that. Perhaps we should later communicate with them actually what happened, and how they can help, and what is the proper way to behave. And I guess because students are also maybe new to this online learning assessment as we are lecturers. So maybe they should remind them, take 1 or 2 minutes before we start the class, the do and don'ts. Then perhaps they will tend to practice it better. Get a bit worried not to break the rules and get kicked out of that that class. Yeah.
So at least we can share it's a very basic ethicals guidelines before we can start our class, maybe for 30 seconds or 1 minute and so on. This is how we can teach or we can share with we can educate with our students from time to time, right?
Mm.
Okay, so Dr. Nur Izura, in conclusions, what you can conclude about ethics in online teaching, in online learning, from overall from our discussions today?
Yes, from the discussion, and now we know that with the new norm, the post COVID-19 era, for example, online teaching and learning will become more prevalent. It will become the new norm. We may have in future, for example, automated teaching. For example, even in fact, Japan also has already have their first robot teacher. Which have been developed by a professor at the university, Tokyo University of Science, for example, and that was in 2009. So we're talking about automated teaching. So maybe this would be like the future of it, and the new norm also may call for a policy, a standard, and guidelines for online teaching and learning, as we have discussed earlier, and we should put in there the content could include the netiquettes, privacy, and also network security in the guidelines as well. And what I would say that, ethics and moral, we should look at it in the long run. We are developing humans, good human being, or good citizens, and they should be holistic and balanced. So balance between the intellectual, emotional, spiritual, and other things. So the balance should be, from the co-curriculum as well, and as well as the soft skills that we have put into our curriculum, the academic classes also, the soft skills. So what we need to emphasize on is that, in ethics in online learning, everybody, the students as well as the teachers, should take their own responsibility. Self-discipline is very important. The time management, submitting your own ideas, do not plagiarize, no cheating as well. This is self-important and self-discipline that is also important. The self-motivation, and mostly we know that with online teaching and learning, it will be more towards the independent learning, because you will not have close monitoring by the teachers, for example, and it is your self-motivation, and this independence also require you to have the ability to set your goals and pursue the means to achieve your goal. If I can also share, we can recap back what the Malaysian Education Blueprint 2015-2025 for the higher education. There are 10 shifts which aim to develop holistic, entrepreneurial, and balanced graduates in line with the national education philosophy. So the graduates will have the relevant disciplinary knowledge and skills, ethics and morality, and along with the appropriate mindsets, behavior, cultural and civilizational literacy. Ini dalam kita kata adab ni, to advance them to the level of personal being and so on. So what I would say is that we should emphasize on ethical behaviors makes a man. Good manners, moral should be the pride of a man. And the students also should be proud to be ethical. Honesty and integrity is very important, and the end does not permit the means. So that I would say would be the conclusion on this.
Maybe Dr. Izura, Dr. Naveen, we are going to conclude, but there is one question I think we are going to answer from Dr. Hannah Khan. Okay, so the question is, do you think being a lecturer, we should not take the attendance if the students come too late, like more than 30 minutes? So my class is 2 hours. So I don't want to stop them from learning, so I allow them to join. Some students claim they have issues with internet line or phone data. So please share your thoughts. Okay. So what is your opinions? Maybe Dr. Naveen or Dr. Izura?
Maybe I just start first. I guess there is a lot of, I think we will see a lot of this, student not coming on time, In fact, in the medical faculty, as we run the face-to-face teaching lectures and all that, a student actually campus is just 5 minutes away from lecture halls or tutorial halls that we have, but yet students come late. And like for me, I stay about 30 kilometers or 35 kilometers from the faculty of medicine, but I still can make it on time. So I think when even at home, that the traveling time will be next to nothing. They will still be late. So we need to actually set, I think, the higher authorities to actually set the time that actually that attendance is allowed. Have they have set in the exams that you can't be late for 50 minutes or 30 minutes. You can't leave 30 minutes before the exam. So similarly, I think it's very important to actually set a guideline to how, because we don't want a student to just come in and then disappear. And then we don't know where they are, just for the sake of attendance. It should be maybe a separate topic on attendance as well, written. And it's very important actually to remind the student that whatever is being taught during the lecture and so on, not only for exam purposes, but also for your future, to develop your mind or your knowledge, and also for the challenges that is coming, to actually remind them that it's very important to follow the whole lecture from the start till the end.
Okay. So, Dr. Izura, anything you want to add?
Yes.
Because you discussed about the flexibility, facilitate the student, we support the student. For example, in terms of the for the pandemic, they have the accessibility issues and so on.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. I agree also with Dr. Naveen. Yeah, in terms of the if in face-to-face situation, they're living on campus. There is no reason for them to come late, right? Latecomers always disrupt the class. It disrupts the others, not only the lecturers but also the other students, because we can see when somebody walks in and everybody's attention is now shifted towards this person, catwalk. Like a model coming in, for example. So this is what we need to, we need to be firm also about this, this discipline. But at the same time, now when we talk about online class, then it may require a different consideration, because the internet accessibility, as Dr. Wan mentioned also. So the flexibility should be given also to be. We want to support, and I agree with Dr. Hana. We don't want the student to be to miss out of the the class activities or the lecture, even though they come in 30 minutes late, for example, but they still have 1.5 hours of lecture contents that they could benefit on. I always believe that they can still benefit on even though they may miss 30 minutes, rather than we bar the students and they will miss the whole two hours of lecture. I don't know, this is my belief. I believe that everybody has a right to get that the knowledge, but again, at the same time, discipline is also important. So that doesn't mean that we just what you call this, close one eye about this thing. As a teacher, as an educator, you not only deliver your lecture, but you also have to instill the ethics, right? We have been talking about the ethics. So this is when you need to really put this to the students, but of course not publicly in front of the classmates, but you can talk. I believe we have sufficient adequate wisdom to handle this situation. That's my opinion.
Okay, so mean that we as academicians we try our best to support the student, to facilitate the student. sometimes we quite more flexible enough, because the most important thing is we always to re-educate our students to improve their ethics, their ethical behavior, and also their professionalism, right? Okay. So anything else? There may be you have something last word to share before we finish our forums today. Dr. Naveen, anything you want to share?
I guess it's more of my gratitude for Kate for organizing this very important lecture webinar.
Yes.
I also like to congratulate the smooth running of this webinar. No interruption. I also like to thank all the participants for really practicing good ethics during this webinar. I think if we can this kind of ethics and the way this webinar is organized, or online learning or online sharing is organized, then we should not have much problem with ethics. So once again, thank you very much, Kate, for inviting me.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Izura?
Yes, thank you also to Kate, the participants, and also to the fellow panelist, Dr. Naveen, for sharing. I also learned a lot from your sharing. One last word that teaching ethics, moral, and professionalism should be taught by all lecturers. Yeah, even though you're teaching, like for me, I teach computer programming or operating system, for example. But in my class, I always teach ethics. I will always, what you call this, insert ethics in life in general, for example. So we always have to teach ethics, not only online but as well as offline, because as I said, this makes a man. We are building a nation, for example, for future generations. So they should be ethical, and morally good and professional, so that we would have they would what do you call this, they built the country. So thank you again. I apologize if there is some I may have offended anyone in my sharing today. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Salam. So Alhamdulillah, we have a very fruitful discussions and sharing today. So we have accomplished for our interesting forums, ethics in online learnings. Okay, for the for kids online CPD training program for today. So I would like to thank, of course, our beloved Vice Chancellors, and we have also here is our beloved Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academy and Internationals, Professor T.S. Dr. M. Iqbal Saripan. So thank you, Professor Muhammad Iqbal, M. Iqbal, for your continuous support, as well as our dedicated director, Kate, our Kate teams, for the courage and commitment. So last but not least, thanks again from our panels today is Associate Professor Dr. Nur Izura Udze, the Director Co-Curriculum and Student Development Center, UPM, and from the Faculty of Computer Science and Information Technology, as well as Dr. Naveen Kumar Dewaraj from Faculty of Medicine and Health Science, University Putra, Malaysia. So Kate also want to thank everyone for joining us for our webinar series today. So if you have any suggestions, any feedbacks, so please do not hesitate to give your feedback and suggestion for online CPD training program, or any suggestion regarding our forums today through our email, katelatihan@upm.edu.my. So thank you very much, everyone. Stay safe, stay home, and we love UPM.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.